We can wait for a ठीक है 3-4 मिनट बाद मैं दोबारा फिर वीडियो और माइक ऑन करता हूँ. And first few minutes, if you have any questions regarding last lecture, we have gone through meteorology and its parameter. We had seen different instruments to record different meteorological parameters. So out of these, if you have any questions, then we have seen general circulation of air. What is the reason of circulation and how the general pattern of circulation is. Then what else? We have seen the systems, weather system which affect Pakistan, monsoon system and westerlies. These are the two systems which affect Pakistan. So a brief review of the previous lecture. If you have any questions out of the previous week or prior to that, any question, you are welcome. कोई question है तो पूछ लो. Is waiting in the lobby. Why he is waiting in the lobby? इसको क्या मसला है? Okay, I'm starting recording of the lecture. If I will be getting some response from any student or all are sleeping. Today is 10th of November and it is class of hydrology. Welcome to section B. If you have any question regarding last lecture, you are welcome. And if you don't have any question, okay, then we start today's lecture. Today we are going to study about precipitation, which is an important part of hydrological cycle. And as you know, the subject of hydrology is related to the study of water cycle in a brief way, study of water cycle. And precipitation plays important role in distributing the water all around the globe. In distributing the water all along the globe and in providing water over the land. So what is precipitation and what we are going to study in this topic are listed over here. We will define precipitation and then we will go into different forms of precipitation. Precipitation is not necessarily be in the form of liquid, or it should not be necessarily only the rainfall. It has other forms of precipitation also. So all the forms of precipitation will be informed to you. When water is received from environment or from atmosphere to the ground, we say this is precipitation. So conversion of water from the atmosphere to the ground is precipitation. It can be of different forms. So those forms will be informed to you. And then you will be informed the physics behind the precipitation phenomena, why precipitation occurs. So we will be informed the reasons for precipitation. And then there are different kinds or different ways through which the precipitation may occur. And those we categorize as types of precipitation. For example, it can be convective, it can be orographic, it can be cyclonic. So these will be informed. And in continuation of this lecture, our next lecture will be how to measure precipitation. So measurement of precipitation will be the next lecture. So today we will be trying to understand the phenomena of precipitation. Is it okay? So in lab, if you have done some relevant work in the lab, कोई बताएगा मुझे feedback lab में क्या किया इससे मुतालिक? How many labs you have already performed? One will be that of saturation deficit, saturation vapor pressure. Second should have been what? दूसरी lab क्या थी?
सर वो 20 साउंडिंग स्टेशन का डाटा प्लॉट किया था, 20 साउंडिंग स्टेशंस।
और उन डाटा किस बारे में था? डाटा किस
precipitation और rainfall के बारे में था।
Okay, you had the data of 20 gauge stations and what you did with that? उसके साथ क्या process क्या किया था आपने? Surrounding station. अच्छा मुझे जो समझ आ रही थी sounding station. So surrounding station के साथ आपने using the data of a lot of number of stations, you have checked the consistency of a station. So if this station data, which may be rainfall, which may be flow, if it is in line with the average of the data of the other surrounding station or not. So that is a basic check which we carry out in our actual hydrological study. When we get a data, we don't use it as it is. We pass it through different checks, and then we say, okay, this data seems to be reliable. If it is consistent, we accept it. If it is inconsistent, then we try to find the reason of inconsistency. And if there is sure that data is inconsistent, but it is depicting the behavior of that place, and it has actually changed the behavior of the place is actually changed, then we don't try to change the inconsistency. But if that inconsistency has been found because of some human error or because of some error in what we call it instrumental errors, then we try to correct it and then we use it. So we try to find the reason of inconsistency. If we find some station to be inconsistent continuously, and we finally conclude that it is because of the particular place weather has been changed, then we will not try to change it. But weather does not change. If surrounding station are very close by, then it is not possible that the weather change at one station and the surrounding station are not, weather or climate is not changed. So it does not happen frequently. So usually we find the error either in observation, or either we find the error in instrument. Some instrument have been changed, for example, or we find that location of the station have been changed. So if location of the station have been changed also, then we accept that data. We don't try to change that data. So this is the way how we carry out the consistency check and how we use it in our actual hydrological study. Reason for this consistency check is are other checks similar to this? For example, one simple check is compare the means of this station and compare the means of other stations. So those are the simple checks. So why we carry out? Because if we use the data without any check, there can be huge errors inside the data, and later on major decisions are based on this data. Later on, major decisions are made on this data. For example, the reservoir capacity can be decided based upon this rainfall data. For example, the discharge capacity of a spillway of a dam is based on this data. Barrage is based on this data. So if basic data is erroneous, so the conclusion or information which we are passing to the engineer who is designing that will be erroneous and can result into huge losses. So we need to go through all the data. We have to pass all the data through consistency checks, statistical checks, and mass curve, double mass curve is one of such checks. Okay, third experiment किया कि नहीं? Third and fourth. वो क्या वो क्या थे? Average precipitation आपने Thiessen polygon तो आपने इसका मतलब एवरेज प्रेसिपिटेशन ऑफ अ सर्टेन एरिया कैलकुलेट करना सीख लिया. So okay, that's good. You are going ahead in lab. Okay. So we are moving towards that direction. Precipitation. What is precipitation? So कहाँ है इसका slide mode? So all type of moisture reaching the surface of Earth from the atmosphere. So that will be categorized as precipitation. So all types of moisture. It includes moisture which is reaching in the form of a liquid and in the form of solids also. And transfer of water from atmosphere to earth. Sometimes we define it. Precipitation is transfer of water from atmosphere to earth. And it has widespread effects. You can understand that. For example, for a moment you think of the land or earth without phenomena of precipitation. Just for a moment, if we think the land or earth or globe without the phenomena of precipitation, then we will see that only evaporation will occur for some times. Evaporation will occur for some times or for some years, and all the water will be evaporated to the upper atmosphere, and let us suppose that is not coming back to the ground. So that is without precipitation. So it means our hydrological cycle will be stopped. And how it can happen? How it can happen if we have not a closed system of atmosphere. If we don't have a closed system, if there is some leakage out of our systems to some other planet, that is only possibility, and that is not happening. So the continuation of the hydrological cycle, precipitation is playing an important role. All that vapor which goes to the upper atmosphere through evaporation, that comes back to the ground through precipitation, and it makes different part of the land gets quantity of water which is used for socio-economic development purpose of that area and the surrounding area. This is one of the major input to the surface hydrological system. You have seen we can analyze a system at different levels. One is whole hydrological cycle system, including atmosphere, including ground, land, including subsurface, including ocean. So that is the complete hydrological system or meteorological system. So a part of that is surface hydrological system. So precipitation is a kind of input. When system is said to you, when system word is used, it should come into your mind that for that system there will be an input, there will be a process in the system, and there will be an output, and there will be some kind of feedback to the input. So these are four basic things which nearly every system has. Every system, you consider it computer, you consider it a high school, university, you consider it as your system of education. So all the systems have a kind of input. There is some process inside it. Processes are different for different systems. There is an output, and there is a sometimes feedback to the input to the system. So, for example, I am filling a glass of water, that can be considered as a system. Input to the glass of water is flow of water from jug to the glass. So water is being filled into the glass. That is a process in the system, and my eyes are seeing it, and I am giving feedback to my hand handling the jug. So that is the feedback. So when I see the system is full, the glass is full, then my hand will act accordingly. So that is the feedback of the system. Similar feedback is there in our hydrological system also. These temperature differences, these pressure changes, these give some signals to the system to change its behavior. So a system concept should be known to you because you can analyze a complex phenomena using system approach. When I say system approach, it means you should identify what is the input of that system, what is the process going through within that system, what is the output of it. If you categorize all these things separately, it will be easy for you to understand a system, and then you can identify the problems, and then you can give the solutions, whether problem is with input, whether problem is with the process, whether problem is with the output, whether problem is in the feedback mechanism. So then you can easily, so system approach should be inculcated or should be built within each student. So it is not fixed to the hydrological system. This you can use in your structure engineering also. So every part of the life can benefit from the system approach. So for surface hydrological system, precipitation plays as an input, and what will be the output for surface hydrological system? If I ask you, because we have studied this surface hydrological system, हमने study किया था शुरू के lectures में. Input अगर precipitation है surface system के लिए, तो output क्या है उसका?
Evaporation, sir.
Outflow is evaporation. It is not only evaporation और कुछ.
Surface runoff.
Surface runoff बाहर चला जाता है, और भी है.
Infiltration
भी out हो जाती है. So everything which is going out of the, so that is the outflow of the surface hydrological system. So using this simple basic knowledge of system approach, you will be able to, for example, if you are having some problem with your studies even, you see what you are giving input to your studying system, what output is coming out of that, what processes are going within that. So if there is problem with the input, for you, maybe for learning input, maybe you are spending on this work, maybe your time consumption on this one, maybe the input what we are teaching, that maybe your learning phase के लिए वो input है. तो क्या इनमें से किस चीज में प्रॉब्लम है? क्या आप टाइम कम दे रहे हैं? क्या आप इस पे स्पेंडिंग कम कर रहे हैं? क्या आपको जो लर्निंग के मेथड्स हैं वो गलत हैं? जो टीचर आपको पढ़ा रहा है वो गलत है? तो आप आइडेंटिफाई करके इसको उस फिर पॉइंट को रिजॉल्व कर सकते हैं. So that was a message that system approach can be used in different ways. We have studied the hydrological cycle. So these figures are coming from that one, that overall over the continent, over the land, 39% of the total, 39% of the continental precipitation goes to the sea by direct runoff and underground flow, that we studied. If you remember hydrological system, and I presented it with respect to 100 unit of the land of the rain, 100 unit were designated to the precipitation over the land, and that was said to be equal to 119,000 kilometer cube per year. So out of that, 39% goes to the sea and through either subsurface flow or through the surface flow, while 61% remaining goes to the atmosphere. So the continent rainfall is about 20%, the rainfall on the continent. What do we mean by continent? Means the land area. For the whole earth, we have either land area or dry area, or we have the oceans or the water surface area under the water. So the continent area receives about 20% of the total precipitation on the globe. Is it so? ऐसे ही था क्या? हमने क्या पढ़ा था कि if 100 units are coming to the ground on the land, how many units are coming on the ocean in the form of precipitation? कितना पढ़ा था? 100 अगर land पे आ रहा है तो ocean पे कितना आ रहा है? Anybody remember? I gave you 3-4 figures: 38, 61, 385, 424.
385
Sir, 385.
So
precipitation only.
385 units were coming as precipitation on the ocean. So 385 plus 100 unit, 485 total precipitation on the globe हो गई. So if I divide 100 divided by 485, that is approximately 1/5 or 20% of the total precipitation. While the book have said about 1/4, so आपको different values मिलेंगे. तो मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा authentic लगता है. लिंजले की बुक का पहला सेंटेंस ही precipitation के चैप्टर का यही है. Hydrologists have known that about 1/4 of total precipitation that falls on the continental areas is returned to the sea. 1/4, जिसको मैं 39% कह रहा हूँ, वो इसको 25% कह रहे हैं. So there will be slight differences between Lindsley book and what we are teaching you in the slides. These values are from the book of Venti Chow. So that is more authentic as compared to this Lindsley. So I will stick with these values as given over here. So 20% of the total precipitation occurs on the land as compared to the over the globe. Initially, it was believed that only the local evaporation causes rainfall at a certain place. Whatever is the evaporation from this place, so that will be converted into the rainfall. But later on, when people have measured the rainfall and they have measured the evaporation also, then they have come to know, no, it is not only the evaporation from the local area. Surrounding area is sometimes contributing to the rainfall at a certain area, and sometimes a certain area is contributing to the surrounding area. So if I compare land and ocean with each other, so then we will be saying that ocean is contributing to some extent for the rainfall on the land, on the continent. Ocean is a contributor for precipitation. And how many units it is contributing for precipitation? Because all the evaporation from the land area will not make up the 100 unit of precipitation on the land. We are having evaporation less from the land, but we are getting some evaporated water in the forms of the clouds from the oceanic area to the continent area. So sometimes surrounding area contribute to the precipitation at a land, and sometimes one area is contributing to the surrounding area. So an example has been quoted in the book, also in the Lindsley book, that they have seen that Caspian Sea, having a surface area of approximately 428,000 kilometers square, its annual evaporation was estimated. And how they would have estimated, हमने आपको भी पढ़ाया नहीं है, but for estimation of evaporation we use evaporation pans. वो जब evaporation का topic आएगा तो उसमें आपको बताएंगे. Evaporation pans are used to estimate the 24 hours evaporation from a certain place, and that pan evaporation is converted into the value how much evaporation is occurring from the whole area. From the idea of the pan evaporation, we can assume that surrounding areas are also having the similar evaporation, and we can multiply it with the area of the surrounding area, and we get the total evaporation from that area. So Caspian sea, which has a 428,000 kilometers square surface area, evaporation was estimated as 500 to 600 billion cubic meter in a year, which is equivalent to more than a meter of evaporation. But Caspian Sea itself is not getting that much precipitation. It is only getting a part of that, 250 millimeter. So figure like this, and similar we can say that evaporation from the land, a certain parcel of a land is so much evaporation, but it is getting other than that rainfall. So evaporation of an area is not equivalent to the precipitation of that area. Rather, it can get clouds from the surrounding area, or that area can give clouds to the other area. So we have within the globe, we don't have a closed system, but overall, if we see the globe, we have closed system, but within a globe, for a smaller areas, we don't have closed system. So now it is believed that main source of evaporation over the globe is oceans, main source, and you have seen this in the quantitative terms also. Main source of evaporation, 1/5 we have said that, 1/5 क्या हमने बोला था? How much is the evaporation? 61 to 424 की रेशियो है, evaporation की रेशियो 61 to 424 की रेशियो है, तो 61 divided by 61 plus 424. So it is only 12%, which is written over here. Evaporation from the land is only 12% of the evaporation over the globe, 10 to 12%. While precipitation over the surface of the is 87 to 90%. टोटल ग्लोब की जो प्रेसिपिटेशन है उसका 80-90% जो है प्रेसिपिटेशन ऑन द ग्लोब सरफेस अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 87 to 90% ड्यू टू एवापोरेशन फ्रॉम द ओशन. Precipitation on the global surface is approximately 87 to 90% due to evaporation from the oceans and 10 to 12% from the land. So total precipitation के अगर हम source को देखें तो उसमें जो evaporation from the land है वो contribute करती है 10 से 12%, और जो evaporation from the ocean है वो contribute करता है 90% तक. So that should be made clear. That precipitation is not only because of the local evaporation. The big contributor towards the precipitation is oceanic evaporation, and out of the total precipitation, 90% is because of the evaporation from the ocean, and 10 to 12% is because of evaporation from the land area. From the observation, we can see the average precipitation of the globe. So this figure is giving us over the globe average annual precipitation, mean annual precipitation, using the data of about 100 years. So this figure is giving you average rainfall with the color coding, whose legend is given over here. From here, I will give you a message also that when you make your figures using GIS or some other software, don't forget to give the legend. If you miss this legend on the right-hand side, nobody can interpret it. They can only see the variation, but cannot interpret into the value. For example, this yellow color is what? That is low precipitation, 0 to 125 millimeter per year, while this dark color is about 2000 millimeter of precipitation per year. So precipitation is the factors which affect the precipitations are evaporations, precipitation के जो factor affect करते हैं, and location of that place, because location of that place controls whether it will be getting some evaporation from the surrounding area. If some place is located close to the coastal areas, there are more humidity available from the coastal area, oceanic area. If some barrier is close to that place, like high hill is close to that place, that hills play an important role in lifting up of the air parcels, so that is also important. So there are different factors which affect the precipitation. One is presence of the source of the humidity, and which its form and quantity is influenced by climatic factors like wind, direction of the wind, whether it is on the wind side or it is on the lee side of that place is located. I just give you an example that for the same hill, for example, Hindu Kush Mountains, area which are on one side of the hill are having more rainfall, while area on the other side of the hill are getting less rainfall. It depends over the months what is the direction of the wind for that mountain, because the wind brings the humidity at that place. So if it is on the place is located on the wind side of the hill, it is more probability that rain will occur over there. If it is on the lee side or the other side of the wind blowing, so then it will be having less rainfall. So this phenomena have been seen frequently on the hilly area. One side of the hill is greener because of the more rainfall. One side of the hill is drier because of the less rainfall. Same happens with the Himalaya and the Karakoram also. Source of the humidity and the wind is the oceans, Bay of Bengal and Arabian Ocean. So Himalaya south and eastern sides are more wetter as compared to the northern side of the Himalaya. Bring into your mind the global picture of Himalaya. There is a line of Himalaya mountains, Himalaya peaks. So Nepal is on the southern side of the Himalaya, on the eastern side of the Himalaya. So Nepal and the Ganga basin is getting heavy rainfall because of that. So lee side, so it depends upon climatic factor like wind, temperature, and atmospheric, and it depends upon the geographic factor such as the location of the region. So that is what I was talking. So precipitation is dependent upon climatic factors, wind, availability of the wind, humidity of the wind, temperature of that place, pressure. So we can understand these things. How do it affect? Because a source of humidity is required, and the wind is the transport provide the transport mechanism. Wind direction and the wind speed and the wind circulation is dependent upon the temperature differences and the pressure differences. So that is how these are combined with each other and work together as a system. Geographical location, I have mentioned you. We have already seen the global circulation patterns. So those places which are getting more circulation, more wind, those are more susceptible to the precipitation. So tropical areas which are getting the area close to the equator, that is getting wind from both directions, from the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So in the tropical belt, we are getting more rainfall in general as compared to the other. So this figure is showing you average rainfall for a different period. Previous figure में क्या था? We were not able to see Pakistan, I think, in the previous figure over here. Can you locate Pakistan? Anybody? This is a part of world in which we cannot see Pakistan. इन्होंने मुझे तो ये भी समझ नहीं आ रहा कि ये है किस इलाके का. Anybody can guess it? Which aspect of the globe we are seeing in this figure? मुझे ये लगता है ये polar direction से इसको देख रहे हैं, either North Pole or South Pole को देख, which we are not habitual of seeing it. So I am not able to identify some countries. So, but over here it is very clear. Rainfall is shown with the help of shades. Inches of the rainfall in year. Over there it was millimeter of the rainfall, and along with that you have the longitude lines and the latitude lines. These vertical lines are longitudes. These horizontal lines are latitudes. These are what we were talking. Here is the equator with the zero latitude. जो जीरो लैटिट्यूड की लाइन है उसको हम इक्वेटर कहते हैं, एंड इट इज पासिंग थ्रू द कंट्रीज लाइक, कहाँ से गुजर रहा है? एनीबॉडी? You should have idea of the geography of the world if you want to understand the meteorology. ये कहाँ से गुजर रहा है इक्वेटर? कुछ तो होंगे जिन्होंने वर्ल्ड मैप को अच्छी तरह स्टडी किया होगा.
African nations.
Okay, let us first talk about continent. मेरे ख्याल में बेहतर यही है. So this is Africa. From this shape, now remember it. So अगर कहीं पे अफ्रीका नहीं लिखा हुआ तो आपको उससे समझ आया. सो हेयर इज साउथ अफ्रीका. अगर क्रिकेट के लवर हो तो फिर ये साउथ अफ्रीका इधर है. हेयर इज एशिया. सो तकरीबन यहाँ से अगर हम काट दें, so this part is Asia. So oceanic countries, हम इन्हें ऑस्ट्रेलिया, ये ऑस्ट्रेलिया और ये न्यूजीलैंड, आई थिंक यहाँ पे न्यूजीलैंड, ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड न्यूजीलैंड और है. दीज आर द साउथ एशियन कंट्रीज. कौन से कंट्रीज है ये छोटे छोटे डिजायर जो हैं, पार्ट्स ऑफ दीज आर इंडोनेशिया, फिलीपींस एंड मलाइशिया. यहीं कहीं सिंगापुर भी होगा. सो हेयर कम्स, हमारे अपने इलाके को आइडेंटिफाई करें. हेयर इज इंडिया एंड वी कैन आइडेंटिफाई इट फ्रॉम द दिस पर्ल लाइक एरिया. वी कॉल इट पर्ल ऑफ इंडियन ओशन. तो ये कौन सा हो गया पर्ल ऑफ इंडियन ओशन? किसको कहते हैं? दिस इज श्रीलंका. So Sri Lanka at the south of India, here is India, and somewhere here will be Pakistan, here is Arabian Ocean. So north of Pakistan, here is the Himalayan range. So this dark color is what I was talking previously, that south and eastern side of Himalaya range is more wetter, is more precipitation, getting more precipitation as compared to Himalaya. Himalaya is there over here also. So other side of Himalaya is relatively dry, having under 20 inches of the rainfall per year, while the southern and eastern side of the Himalaya is having high rainfall, more than कितने हैं ये पढ़ा जा रहा है, more than 80 inches of the rainfall in a year. And if you see Pakistan, so we are having contours of the rainfall, means varying rainfall over here. This line is actually the line of Indus River. This line is, so small rivers are not shown over here, but Indus River is being shown over here. So we are having a rainfall, not highest of the world, but in the middle ranges. The colors, some part of Pakistan is having 10 to 20 inches and some is 20 to 40 inches. And our west is drier, our east is wetter as comparatively. So you see different part of the world and different pattern of the precipitation. So here we should understand that the precipitation is not evenly distributed over the globe. It varies with the location. And it is dependent upon, one thing is geographical location of that place, and it is dependent upon the climatic factors, wind, temperature, pressure, humidity, this thing. So global circulation do play important role. I have brought here a pattern of the global precipitation for the tropical region. So we have seen this easterly circulation pattern in the northern hemisphere near the equator, and these easterlies, southeasterly, these are the northeasterlies. So southeasterlies in the southern hemisphere, northeasterly in the what we call it northern hemisphere, within the tropical belt. Tropical belt क्या बताई थी मैंने? Tropical belt मैंने कौन सी एरिया को बताया था? क्या रेंज है? The area on the both side of the equator, up to 23.5 degree north and 23.5 degree south. ये जो बेल्ट बनती है, that is called as a tropical belt. That is having, so if I say this is 20, this is 40, so 23.5 is this line, tropical of Cancer कहते हैं, tropical of Capricorn है शायद. So ये जो line है, ये बारीक line, this is the limit of the tropical area on northern side and the limit of the tropical area on the southern side, and you see bulk of the rainfall is within this, and main reason for that is this global circulation pattern and the availability of the humidity in that area. So that will help you understand the factors which are affecting the precipitation over the globe. There are different forms of precipitation. Some of them are listed over here. Some are important for hydrologists and some are important for other people, our social life. For example, this fog is not important for a hydrologist, but it is important for society. So meteorology people are forecasting fogs also the day with the fogs, but hydrologist people, we people are not much interested in it. Reason is we hydrologists we want to estimate the availability of water which we can use for the betterment of the mankind. We as a civil engineer, we as a hydrologist are studying that part of hydrology or meteorology which is necessary for our projects. So that is the engineering hydrology for planning of a project, for management of the project, for maintenance of the project. So we are related to that part of hydrology. So for us, this rainfall, snowfall, these are the most important types of precipitation. Rest we are just informing you so that you should be able to differentiate between them. I will come to this figure again later on. So one by one, we try to differentiate between them. Drizzle is that rainfall which is of small quantity and which is having very small droplets. So that we will be calling as a drizzle or mist. And how much if the rainfall rate is less than 0.1 millimeter per hour, so we can categorize it as it is actually rain, but it is very small quantity, and we can call it as mist or drizzle. So it is drizzling. So continuous drizzle is important, but then it will add to the water of that area. And sometimes this drizzle is much important for agriculture people also. Small quantity of the rainfall evenly distributed over the land can give sufficient moisture to the soil. But for flows in the rivers, for reservoir filling, it has less effect as compared to the normal rainfall and as compared to the other sources of the water coming from the atmosphere. Usually, diameter of the rain of the droplets which are forming in the drizzle is smaller, less than 0.5 millimeter. So rainfall is simply the receiving of water from the atmosphere in liquid form. So that we call as rainfall, and a typical type of the rainfall is drizzle. So drizzle is a type of the rainfall. If the quantity of the rainfall is small, so we will be saying this rainfall is drizzle. So rainfall is precipitation in the form of the liquids, in the form of the drops of water. Precipitation in the form of the liquids as a drop of the water. So it has been seen that usually the rainfall size is above the drizzle size and above the mist size, and we seldom have a size larger than liquid droplet size larger than 6 millimeter. और उसकी reason is as the size enhances, the forces of the drag working on it when it passes through the atmosphere. So it is like a sphere is passing through air parcel. So forces of drag are applying on it. So when size larger, that forces are more, they break it out. So while a precipitation droplet fall through the atmosphere, so it is seldom happen that the particle size being received on the grounds are larger than 6 millimeter. Although the other form of precipitation like hailstorm, you will see they can be of larger size up to centimeters and more than 6, 7, 8 inches उससे भी इस range तक हो सकते हैं. So but rainfall droplet don't go beyond 5-6 millimeter, and the 6 millimeter about how much inches हो जाएगा? 25 millimeter का 1 इंच होता है. So about quarter of an inch जो है 6 millimeter size है. And usually we say that its intensity diameter is ranging, intensity usually is more than 1 millimeter per hour. When rainfall is less than a millimeter per hour, then we say this is trace of the rain. We are not able to sometimes record that. Although we are observing some kind of rainfall is occurring, but our rain gauge, either it comes on the rain gauge and evaporate back. So if we are not able to record rainfall, it is so small, then we say in the data book we write trace of the rainfall. We cannot record the value, but there was rain occurring at that time. So that is recorded as a trace if it is less than 1 millimeter. So then we say it is trace of the rainfall. Light rain, medium rain, and moderate rain and heavy rain are categorized by some of the meteorologists is 2.5 millimeter per hour. It is light rain or less than this. 2.5 to 7.6 millimeter per hour. It is moderate, and more than 7.6 millimeter per hour is. So you should note some things over here. This is intensity of the rain. So 2.5 millimeter per hour. So when we define it with respect to hour or minute, so we are defining its intensity. When we say, okay, rainfall for the last day was 24 millimeter, so that is the daily rainfall. That is the quantity of the rainfall, not intensity of the rainfall. Because that 24 millimeter rainfall, if it occurred in last 24 hours, it may have occurred in 1 hour, it may have occurred in 8 hours, it may within that 24 hours. So one thing is the total quantity of the rainfall, one is the intensity of the rainfall. So these should be known to you and should be separated from each other. So we have now understand the difference between drizzle, rainfall, and the difference between trace of the rainfall. Sometimes we don't get water in the form of the liquid or droplets, we get it snowfall, and the snowfall occurs crystal of the ice if we receive at the ground, if we receive the crystal of ice. So one thing is solid ice and one thing is crystallized ice. It is not dense. Crystals of the ice are not dense. They are very loosely packed with each other. Their density is much lesser as compared to the solid ice or as compared to the liquid droplets. So that's why their rate of falling on the ground is like they are floating in the air. And crystal like रुई के गालों की तरह से जो आ रही होती है, that is snowfall. So hopefully some of you have snowfall in Murray or northern areas of Pakistan and areas in Balochistan, in Quetta and Ziyarat. Yeah, they frequently get snowfall. What are the conditions which will give rise to the rainfall or snowfall? Both have similar phenomena, but local conditions and the availability of the suitable nuclei that controls whether snowfall will occur or whether rainfall will occur. So if we read it, snow forms, snow means crystals of water. When water vapors change directly into ice. So FSC mein you must have studied the phases of mass, phases of matter. So matter can be found in 3 phases, and normally one is the gas, one is the liquid, and one is the solid. So matter changes phases from one phase to the other phase, and we use terminology like freezing is change of phase from liquid to solid. Freezing क्या है? Change of phase from liquid to solid. Melting क्या है? From solid to the liquid. Evaporation क्या है? From liquid to the gaseous or vapor form. So we know the phase changes, and normally it happens that phase changes in this order. Usually gas will change into the liquid, and then liquid will change into the solid. If we are lowering the temperature, gas will change into the liquid, and liquid will be changing into the solid. And if we are increasing the temperature, then solid will be changing into the liquid, and liquid will be changing into the vapors. But sometimes it happens the middle phase is vanished away. Vapors directly change into the solid phase, and solid directly change into the gaseous phase. So these two phase change processes are called as sublimation and deposition, and we have been informed about it in our uh, uh, earlier classes. So what is the difference between sublimation and deposition? किसी को याद है क्या फर्क है? So I think the conversion of vapors into solid phase without going through liquid phase, so that is called as deposition. और sublimation जो है इसके उलट होता है. तो here we are talking about deposition. It is converted to क्या बोला है? The water vapors change directly into ice without passing through the liquid phase. So that is actually the deposition process. So snow forms when deposition process occurs. And deposition process is conversion of the phase of the matter from vapor phase to the solid phase directly. So if it happens, if deposition happens, then ice crystals are formed around the nuclei. Condensation around nuclei is usually in the form of ice crystal, and it is normally happens that in the upper atmosphere conditions are such that ice crystals are formed. Most of the time ice crystals are formed. When they grow bigger and then they start falling down, so if in the way there is hotter air in the way of the falling of the ice crystals, if there is what we call it hot air parcels are in between, so then that ice crystals are converted into the liquid and we are getting rainfall at the ground. And if in the passage, in the way of falling down, there is no hot air parcel, then we get the crystals at the ground, and that is a snowfall. So have you got it? So normally it happens that ice crystals are formed in the upper atmosphere, and when they grow further, then they come down, and in the passage, if they pass through the hot air area, they are converted into the liquid and we get the rainfall. And if they don't pass through the hot air, they are passing through the air having lesser temperature and having below freezing temperature, they retain their crystallized form and we are getting the snowfall. So other reason for this is there are two, not other reason. Another thing which give growth to the snowfall or rainfall is which kind of nuclei are present over there. Nuclei क्या है? For occurrence of the rainfall, we need some solid particle of very small size, of micrometer size. So very small size solid particles are required so that the water vapor can join to that solid particle and then grow their size. When their size is sufficiently grown, then they start falling down. Then they can overcome the force of buoyancy over there, and then they start falling down. So if the nuclei are condensation nuclei or freezing nuclei, they can also result into whether it will be formed as crystals or whether it will be liquid droplets. So there are different kind of nuclei we will be studying in the maybe coming slides. कुछ जो हैं उनको हम कहते हैं condensation nuclei हैं, which are usually the small particles of salts, and there are some we call it क्या कहते हैं crystals, ice crystal nuclei, which are usually the clay के small particle are kaoline materials हैं, which gives rise to the crystallization of the water of the vapors. So that is the theory behind it, when rainfall will occur and when snowfall will occur. So with the help of this figure, I told you I will come back to this figure again. So usually when condensation occurs, so ice crystals are formed around a nuclei. So there is a small nuclei over here and a crystal has been formed around it. When its size is sufficiently larger, then it starts falling towards the ground. So if it falls through the warm air, so then we get the rainfall. If it falls through the cold air, then we get the crystals as it is, and we say that is snowfall. Usually the area which are the low lying, like Lahore, like Karachi, they have a sufficient thickness of the warm air close to the ground. While the area which are at high altitude, like Murray and upper areas, they don't have, especially in the winter season, their air present on near to the ground. Either their warm air thickness is very small, or they have the air below freezing point over there. So over there are more chances of snowfall if it is high altitude. Like Murray, we get snowfall, and if we go further high altitude on the mountains, if they don't have any thickness of the warm air, then they will be getting snowfall all the year. So that is the difference between these two. So that's why I said that I will come to this figure again. Ice crystals are usually formed. Sometimes water droplets are also formed depending upon the nuclei available at that place. So when ice crystals are formed, if they happen to pass through warm air in between, there are raindrops, and if they happen to pass through the cold air parcels, then we get the snowfall. Sometimes this falling down process is not continuous. This falling down process is not continuous. There are storms activities which take these particles again and again upside. There's updraft of the particles again and again. So if that happens, so this if there is updraft of the particles again and again. Okay, I will continue it again, and I am taking a break of 10 minutes. See you after 10 minutes. Rainfall, and we were discussing, कौन सी rainfall discuss कर रहे थे? Snowfall and rainfall. इसमें किसी का question है तो पूछ लो. It is clear weather.
Yes, sir, clear weather.
Okay. One of the things which meteorology people do observe, they go outside and they see how much area of the sky is covered with the clouds, and then they divide it into 8 quadrants. Like you can divide the whole sky into 4 quadrants. So further you can divide it into 8 quadrants. And then they write in the notebook that, okay, today at 8 a.m. The cloudiness was 2 octiles or 3 octiles. If half of the sky is covered with the cloud, they say 4 octiles. So in this way, they note down even the cloudiness of a day through their visual inspection. Okay, good. So you understand the difference between snowfall and precipitation or not? Snowfall and rainfall, both are precipitation. Snowfall and rainfall. Zunera. भाग्य लगता है क्लाउड देखने चले गए. शायान जावेद. Zunera, why your क्या नाम है, mic is muted.
Yes, sir.
मैंने सवाल पूछा था, if you understand the difference between snowfall and rainfall, then describe what will be the condition when rainfall will occur, what will be the condition when snowfall will occur. ये तो बड़ी स्लो मोशन में जवाब देती है. शायान, मैंने आपको कॉल किया था, नो रिस्पांस फ्रॉम यू. शायान जावेद. रोल नंबर 82 कौन है? 2018 सिविल 82.
जी सर।
जी सर, नाम क्या है? भागे भागे आ रहे हो। जी सर का नाम क्या है? क्या हो रहा है? लगता है मुझे अटेंडेंस कॉल करनी पड़ेगी। 82 नहीं है, 56।
Yes, sir.
56. Have you understood the difference between snowfall and the precipitation and the rainfall? What will be the condition when snowfall will occur? What will be the condition when rainfall will occur?
Yes, sir.
थोड़ा सा समझा दो in English. I am waiting.
जी सर।
इसका जी सर अब आया।
डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया।
82. From you, my question is why you were in the gallery? What is difference between you and other students? If your account is not registered with the HEC or not?
सर रजिस्टर्ड अकाउंट।
फिर आप गैलरी में क्यों बैठे हुए थे, वेट कर रहे थे? Everybody
सर
else
गैलरी
joined.
में सर वो मेरा टीम का जो ऐप थी वो अनइंस्टॉल हो गई थी, इसलिए मैंने फिर क्रोम से जो ना वो ले रहा हूँ क्लास।
Okay, you are not using your installed previous account of using, correct? Okay.
यस सर।
So I am waiting. Roll number 56.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, please mute your mic. 82. Yeah.
सर जब टेम्परेचर ज़रा लो होता है खास हाइट तक तब स्नोफॉल होती है, और अगर टेम्परेचर हाई होता है तो वो रेनफॉल में फिर होती है।
If the temperature is below the freezing point above the ground, then we get snowfall.
Yes, sir.
A very summary statement you are given. So usually when precipitation and rainfall have to occur or snowfall to occur, first you start it from the condensation or formation of the crystals, crystallization of the vapors into solid phase. So snow understood that regions with temperature below or near freezing point get snowfall. For Pakistan, such regions are present in the area with altitude more than 1500. So chiefly, it is a what is the crystallized form? It is hexagonal hexagonal format of the molecules of the water. Its specific gravity is much less. Specific gravity is the ratio of density of a substance to the density of water. So although it is made of the water molecules, ice is made of water molecules, but because of its structure, its hexagonal structure, there is a lot of space between the molecules. So that's why it is of low density, and its specific gravity is about it's less than 0.1. It means it is 10 times lighter than water. So that causes the speed of the snowfall as very small. And its density do vary. It is not of the same density depending upon how packed they are. So density vary, but usually its specific gravity is less than 0.1. हेल स्लीट के बाद में आता हूँ, हेल कहाँ गया? Hail occurs when hailstorm or the hails are formation of the balls or lumps of ice. Formation of balls or lumps of ice. And what are the conditions which will give rise to the hailstorm are written over here. Hail forms when thunderstorm. Thunderstorm is a weather activity or meteorological activity. A lot of lightning is there, a lot of circulation is there. So when thunderstorm updraft are strong enough within the cyclone or within a thunderstorm, we have the winds going towards the eye of the thunderstorm, towards the eye of the cyclonic activity, and then there is updraft. There is a lifting of the winds. Temperature variation, pressure variation causes this. So if the updraft are strong to carry water droplets well above the freezing level. So when some water droplet which have already formed that enters into a storm, and then it is updrafted, it is lifted up to much high extent where it is the freezing level are present over there, then and this freezing process converts it into the more dense solid particles, and then it is falling down, it moves towards the ground, and again another further hailstorm, further storm or the thunderstorm again lift it up. If this falling and the lifting is happening again and again, the size of the hailstorm hail increases. So when once its size is sufficient enough that the updraft of the storm cannot carry it out further, then it comes to the ground. Normally the snowfall occurs, the particle remain at its place, it freezes down, it is crystallized, and then it increases its size and comes to the ground. But in case of the hailstorm, the falling and the lifting is happening again and again, and it grows the size of those crystals in the form of the hail, a ball or lump of the crystals. And then it fall to the ground, and then we say that the hailstorm, yala bari, जो हम local language में कहते हैं, that have occurred. So hailstorm के लिए there should be a updraft activity of thunderstorm should be present over there, and it should be strong enough to repeatedly take a solid particle up and down few times, so that its size should be sufficiently large. And then it goes to the ground. Eventually the hailstone becomes too heavy for the updraft to support it, and it falls to the ground. So that activity happens, and that is shown in this figure very clearly. Ice crystal is formed, and then it when its size increases, it comes down. While it still remains in the freezing phase, then because of the cyclonic activity or the thunderstorm activity, it rises again. It don't reach to the ground. It rises again, and this cycle carries out quite a number of times. And while it goes up, some of the part of that crystal is liquefied, and then again it is frozen, and then its size, hailstone size, increases to considerably larger size, and then finally it reaches back to the ground, and close to the ground, if it is cold air, then it does not liquefy to the raindrop form, and we get the hailstorm. Hailstorm are maybe not important much with respect to quantity available. Hailstorm may not be important with respect to the quantity of the water available in them, because it happens for a smaller time period, it happens for a smaller area, a special condition is required. But it is very dangerous with respect to the losses it causes to the property, losses it causes to the vehicles, losses it causes to the animals and the humankind. So that is its effect on the society. So usually their diameter is 5 to 125, 5 to 12, 5 millimeter to 125 millimeter. But the largest recorded, as mentioned on the web, is, which I have found, maybe you find something else, is 14 centimeter diameter hailstorm has been recorded somewhere in USA, I think in 70s, and its weight was 3/4 of a kg, 766 grams weight. So quite huge, but that was occasional, that is the largest recorded. but peanut size is the normal size of the hails, but we have seen over here 1 inch, 2 inch diameter hailstorms over here. They damage to the crops quite a lot, and that is its major effect on the people. Its specific gravity is about 0.8. They are usually spheroid, conical, or irregular shaped. So these are the three forms of the precipitation which we see in this area: rainfall, snowfall, and hailstorm. So we should be able to differentiate. The hailstorm में अगर आप देखें तो there is activity, formation of the crystallization of the water vapors होती है. Then it increases its size, it's fall down and then go up. Because of the updraft of the thunderstorm, it goes up, and again it fall down, then again updraft take it up, so that increases its size. And finally, when the thunderstorm weakens or its size grows to sufficient diameter, then it reaches to the ground, and the condition requires it over the local place. There should be not much, a hotter area should not be there. Cold air should be present close to the ground. So hailstorm we get. So we should make it clear. So another kind of precipitation is called as sleet. So this is the combination of the ice crystals and raindrops, and generally when the temperature in the ground is below freezing, so in this area we seldom see sleet, but in the cold area in the Europe, in higher latitude areas, people do see sleet. They form a thin layer of ice at the ground, at the roads, and very dangerous for the what we call it, traffic. So when sleet is present on the road, so slippery condition do occur, and that can cause, although you don't see the liquid water over there, but they cause damage to the moving vehicles because of the slippery condition present on the roads. So sleet is a combination of the raindrops and ice crystals. Part of it is crystal, a part of it is ice. So that is sleet. Glaze is formed on the surfaces at the ground. When moisture is present on the ground, and for example, this table is placed outside and moisture is present over here, and there is below freezing point temperature is there, then that moisture is converted into the ice coating, and which is usually crystal clear. So that we call as a layer of the glaze has been formed on the surfaces of the bodies standing outside in the open air. So it is not the direct fall of the precipitation, but whatever the moisture is present in the surrounding area, that can be frozen in the form of the ice. In a very clear form, so that we call as the glazed glazed layer has been formed on the surface. So you can see this glazed layer in the area which has below freezing point temperature. Layer of the glazed has been formed on the vehicle standing outside. So we cannot measure it with the help of the rainfall, because it is not the fall of the water. So rainfall only measure that part of the precipitation which is falling down. Either it is rainfall, either it is snowfall, and sometimes it's hailstorm can also be catched by the rain gauge, but these glazed cannot be measured. So it is the conversion into the ice form, crystal clear ice form at the surface of the bodies. And that moisture can be from the surrounding atmosphere, not from the upper atmosphere. Here we have already discussed. Fog is the presence of the cloud or weak cloud close to the ground. Close to the ground, close to where we are living, in the lower layers. If temperature reduces, then condensation occurs. Like, what is formation of the clouds? Vapors are present everywhere. So when it is saturated, then condensation occur, or when a suitable temperature, lower temperature is present, the vapors are condensed. So they becomes very tiny droplets, and they are so tiny that they cannot fall down on the ground. They remain suspended in the air. So that is a cloud. So when clouds are there, it means liquid or ice crystals are present, but they are so small that they are not falling down. So if the clouds are formed close to the ground, conditions are such that the clouds are formed close to the ground, we say fog condition have occurred. Particle size are so small that they remain suspended. So when sunshine occurs in the daytime again, then fogs disappear because the temperature rises and that droplets are vaporized again or they fell to the ground. So this fog is, again, I'm saying that it is although a problem for the society, but not much of interest to project planners, infrastructure planners, because we don't get much water out of it, fogs. People are using the fog to convert it into water using the wire nets or the clothes. They suspend the clothes in the area where other sources of water are not present. People are experimenting to convert this fog into water droplets, and they are using it for drinking purpose or other, but it is still in experimental phase. So in the area, for example, far-lying area where there is sufficient humidity present, maybe in the form of fog or simply humidity is present, people are trying to condense it artificially and trying to use it for drinking purpose. You people can also carry out such experiments if you are interested. Dew droplets are dewdrops. These are the water droplets which you see in the morning. The local humidity present in the atmosphere. In the morning time, the temperature of the atmosphere reduces to such an extent that vapors are condensed and they are converted into the liquid form, and that you see. This is not coming from the upper atmosphere. This is the local humidity which is converted into the droplets. So when temperature falls and condition become favorable, then we prevalent vapor pressure conditions are favorable. So then vapors are converted into the liquids, and we say this is dew drops. And of course, rain gauges are not measuring the dew drops over there. Frost, again, this is phenomena you will see in the area where temperature go below the freezing point. If the particles present on the surface of some body, they experience this low temperature, it can be converted into frozen ice, freezing of the dew drops. So we call this has become frost. So dew drops, if it is present at a place where temperature is below freezing point, you will see not dew drops, rather you will be seeing frost over there. So that is trace is small quantity of rainfall. I already mentioned you. If rainfall occur and we are not able to measure it with the rain gauge, we say this is trace. So usually rainfall less than 0.1 millimeter is recorded as a trace of rainfall. Trace means small quantity of the rain, or trace of the rain. So these were different forms of the precipitation. Most important for hydrologists is snowfall, most important is rainfall, most important is, these two are the more important. Hailstorm is with respect to the damage effect, it is important. Other are adding small quantity to the river system. I will say that this fog, this dew drops, these are adding a quite huge quantity to the soil moisture, but not to the river flows or the groundwater contribution is less. Here, the conditions necessary for the rainfall or precipitation are mentioned over here. 4 conditions should be categorized from each, should be differentiated from each other. One is the presence of the vapors is necessary, and you should be knowing that every place, like my room, also have humidity at the moment over here. So vapor are present everywhere. So presence of the vapors is necessary. One thing is, and evaporation is the main source of the availability of the water. Wind plays important role in bringing vapors from the surrounding area to a certain place. So first requirement for the rainfall is availability of the water vapors. Second requirement of the rainfall is there should be a solid particle, which is said over here as dirty air. Solid particle or particulate, a small particulate is required of the size of the micrometer, 0.1 micrometer to 10 micrometer size. Small solid particle is required, which give rise to condensation of the vapors in the form of the liquid or in the form of the crystal of ice. So this cooling effect is the third requirement. But first I tell you the two requirements. One is the presence of the vapors. Second is the nuclei presence is necessary. Third is cooling of the vapor mass, cooling of the air. So that cooling of the air is achieved by different ways. I just named them. One is convective effect, one is orographic effect, and another way is frontal effect. So some mechanism is required so that the water vapors become cool. So when these three requirements are available, then vapors are condensed. Condense is conversion of phase. Condensation is the cooling effect of the cooling, and vapors are converted into the liquid phase or solid phase. So that is the cooling effect. So when these three requirements are present, condensation occur automatically. Three effect kya hai? Water vapor present hai, nuclei present hai, and the third thing is cooling of the vapor mass happens. When three happens, then around the nuclei condensation occur. Rainfall will not still start. Another fourth requirement is there. Rainfall or precipitation will not occur even if it has condensate. Another thing is required, which is the growth of the size of the condensed particulate to sufficient size so that it can move down against the force of the buoyancy of the air. So air causes buoyancy of the particles that is carrying the clouds, although they are condensed already. So it is not letting it down to the ground because of the buoyancy effect. And it should be sufficient large enough. When it becomes a larger, its gravity or weight increases. So weight should be sufficient enough that it should take care of the buoyancy effect, and it should take care of the drag effect. Drag try to reduce, to act against its movement. Drag try to act against its movement. So it has to take care of these two opposing forces. One is the drag, one is the buoyancy. So its size should be increased sufficiently larger. Then precipitation in one or other kind of the form will occur. So ये चार requirement बताई हैं. Vapors presence, nuclei presence, cooling mechanism should be there, and then growth of the droplet size should be sufficient enough. It happens frequently. There are millions of the droplet formed in the condensation. Some start falling down and again vaporize back. Some start falling down, and in the way of falling down, they collide with the other, and they become bigger and bigger, and they ultimately reaches to the ground. So it is not that all the condensed particle will reach to the ground. Some will evaporate back to the atmosphere. And some will reach to the ground. So that is the mechanism of the physics of the precipitation. And that should be well understood. These four requirements, when are fulfilled, then precipitation occurs. इसमें किसी को कोई question है, कोई मसला है तो बता दे. That is what is explained in these slides. So I will go through these slides. So this figure is explained in the coming slide. So these are the four requirements I have mentioned you. Moisture is always present, so water vapor presence is necessary. Lifting is necessary. Why we say lifting is necessary? As the air parcel goes up, then its temperature reduces. We have seen that in the upper air, the surrounding air has a lower temperature, so it reaches to the lower temperature. One is this reason because the upper layer have smaller temperature. Another reason of lowering of temperature is that parcel will go up whose density is reduced. And when volume expands, you have study in physics or chemistry, the expansion of the volume causes reduction of the temperature. That we use in case of our refrigerator also, this concept that when volume is expanded, then temperature reduces. So exothermic हम कहेंगे कि ये इफेक्ट होता है, तो उसका टेम्परेचर उस बॉडी का रिड्यूस हो जाता है. So there are two ways of reduction of the temperature of air. One is because they move to the lower temperature area on the upper layers, and the second is because of their volume expansion, their temperature reduces. Formation of the clouds. So that is the cloud droplets are forms. So for that, nuclei is necessary. A solid particulate is necessary. Then accumulation or growth of the droplet is necessary, and then it falls down. So these are the four steps. Lifting mechanism are outlined. How are methods available which can lift the air parcels or air packets up? So one mechanism is shown over here. We say this is a convective way of lifting. That is because of the temperature. So some lifting mechanism is required. Air moves up. So these are the three methods explained in the coming slide. So convective systems happens because of heating of a certain area. In the monsoon system, we told you that a land area becomes hotter quite quickly. Land area becomes hotter quite quickly. So when an area becomes warm or hot, so then the air parcel, air present over there becomes hot also. It expands, and because of its expansion, its density reduces. When its density reduces, then it is lifted up. High density air comes over here, low density air goes up. So that is one way of lifting of the air, and this is called as convective lifting. This is called as convectional system or convective system of lifting of the air particles. So that will cause condensation or cloud formation. And if the condensed particle grow to sufficient size, rainfall will occur. If the wind is blowing, maybe rainfall is occur somewhere else, although convective action is happening over here. Second kind of lifting is because of the geographical shape of the area. If a high altitude barrier or obstruction is present, and an air parcel is moving toward that obstruction will cause air to lift up. So that is what is shown over here. Nevada is the western side of USA. Sierra Nevada is the western side of USA. So they have hill mountains over there close to the ocean. Pacific Ocean is on the western side of USA. Atlantic is on the eastern side of the USA. So western side of the USA is relatively drier as compared to the eastern side of USA. But within the western side, the area on the west of the hill of the mountains, so that get more water as compared to the other side. So these hill cause the humid air to move up. So such movement or such lifting, which is because of the topographical features of the area. So such lifting is called as orographic lifting. So rise because of the mountains or because of the high altitude topography. So that is the orographic lifting. So that orographic lifting have a similar effect as the convective lifting. Orographic lifting takes the air particles or air parcels to the upper atmosphere. So they cool down and then they cause the rainfall occur over there. So same is the condition in case of what we call it, हमारा जो हिमालय region है, Karakoram region है. When the air particles move towards that area, the Himalaya obstruct them, and that air particle move up. And over there at the foothills of the Himalaya on the southern side, huge rainfall occur, which brings water to the river system in Pakistan and in India, in Indus, in Chenab. So we are getting huge rainfall because of the orographic effect of the Himalaya and the Karakoram mountains. So another thing is convergent or cyclonic lifting. When low pressure is formed at a certain place because of the convective activity, so this starts with the convective heating of a certain area. So when low pressure is created, then the surrounding air moves towards that place, and because of the lower pressure at the middle of that place, that air which is moving towards a certain place, that is lifted up. So that is called as a convergent or cyclonic lifting. So wind moves towards it. When low pressure is formed, wind moves towards that area, and when it reaches to the center of that area, a low pressure is present and it is lifted up. And sometimes two opposite moving airs parcel, one cold and one hot, when they come across, then usually the cold air is at the lower altitude and the hot air has to move up. So that we call as a frontal lifting. So that is another kind of lifting mechanism. So usually these two activities, convective systems and orographic lifting, are seen in this area. These cyclonic activities are lifting because of the low pressure present at the eye of the cyclone. So that is seen in the oceanic area, over the oceans, and sometimes these cyclones then they move toward the land area and they cause huge damages at that area. Cloud particles की formation का मैंने बता दिया, nuclei is required. Here we are mentioning what kind of nuclei are present. Condensation of the water vapor occur over a hygroscopic. What is hygroscopic? Hygroscopic means some particle have more affinity or attraction towards liquid and some particle don't have. So that particle which has more electrostatic charge and attraction towards the water, so we say this is more hygroscopic nuclei. So usually the ions present in the air, ions of different salts present in the air, they are more hygroscopic. And which are other than ions, they are non-polarized particulate, they are not hygroscopic. So condensation of water vapor occurs over hygroscopic and over non-hygroscopic nuclei also. So hygroscopic nuclei are particles very small in size and having high affinity to the water. General sea salt. So the nuclei of the sea salts. So salts are present in the ocean. So when water splash in the ocean, when waves are formed and the waves are colliding with each other and the water splash into the atmosphere, so small droplets are formed and they give vapors to the atmosphere. Along with the vapors, small nuclei are also. Small salts nuclei are also sprayed into the atmosphere close to the ocean surface. Then wind take them along with it and they go to the upper atmosphere. If their size is very small, if those nuclei size is very small, they can go to high altitude also. So these dust particles or salt particles are present all around the globe, at some place with a high quantity, at some place less quantity. They act as nuclei. Their diameter ranges from 0.1 micrometer to 10 micrometer. They produce, if nuclei are of sea salt, they produce water droplet. And if the nuclei are non-hygroscopic and they are made of kaolin or clay particles, which are also very small, a part of a micrometer, they have the size, and we cannot see it with our eye, small particulate clays. So they can go up to upper atmosphere and they give result to the freezing or crystallized They work as a crystalline nuclei. They give formation to the solid crystalline droplets. And these freezing nuclei initiate the growth of the crystal, which can be reaching to the ground in the form of snowfall or hailstorm. So we should be remembering the range of the size of the nuclei, and we should be knowing that nuclei can be hygroscopic and it can be non-hygroscopic. If it is hygroscopic, and usually the SARS nuclei are hygroscopic nuclei, and usually the kaolin or clay particles nuclei are non-hygroscopic. The SART nuclei, they give rise to the formation of the droplets, liquid, while the kaolin or clay particle, they give rise to the formation of the crystalline droplets, crystalline formation of the what we call crystalline clouds particle are formed around the clay or kaolin particle nuclei. So these should be remembered. Two kind of nuclei, their sizes and their effects. Then their accumulation occurs, and I stop it over here because time is running out. A few slides, we will continue it from here. Please remember it, and we can further carry it out. Anybody having questions, you are welcome. Download attendance. Please read the relevant chapter in the Lindsley book. The chapter is chapter 3 in the book of the Lindsley, and the formation of precipitation is well written over here, and the requirements, and then later part we will study it later on. So if any question, you are welcome. Otherwise, I can stop it over here now. Downloads attendance. Okay, I have got the attendance. I will put it on the WhatsApp for CR to record it. Thank you very much. Attendance. So this is section B, and today is 10th. Cut it from, put it to the hydrology. ठीक है, ये मैं भी हाइड्रोलॉजी के व्हाट्सएप में कर दूंगा. अल्लाह हाफिज. आई एम स्विचिंग ऑफ स्क्रीन शेयर. इस स्लाइड में तो कोई खास चेंज नहीं है. आपको स्लाइडें मैंने दी हुई हैं कि नहीं दी? बोलो
सर. ये वाली स्लाइड्स आई थिंक नहीं सेंड की.
अच्छा, मैं भेज देता हूँ, व्हाट्सएप पे भेज देता हूँ. हाइड्रोलॉजी. So yeah, attendance. CR, please record attendance. हो गया, दूसरी मिल गई आपको स्लाइड्स. स्लाइड होनी चाहिए. Lectures. So slide 3 and 4 I am sharing. 5. These 3 I am sharing. Okay, thank you very much.